Okay, hello and welcome to everyone who's here on Discord. Today is only an illusion. How about the present moment? Mostly, we don't know what is happening in the world, in ourselves, in other people. For the most part, we don't know much. And this is a kind of recognizing that and being with that is a kind of tuning into reality, right? To recognize that I don't know what's going on in France right now. I don't know what's going on outside this room. I don't know the intricate details of what's going on in my neurochemistry right now or my neuropsychology. I can't remember everything about yesterday. I certainly don't know everything about tomorrow. So most things in life we do not know. We don't, and if you don't know something, you certainly don't understand it. You can't grasp it. When we step into the field of meditation, we are stepping into the field of not knowing, not understanding. That's our solid ground. There's one Korean Zen master whose name escapes me, who says, only don't know. Only don't know. And when you know, or when you notice that knowing mind, that grasping mind, that understanding mind, that conceptualizing mind, that judging mind, that past future mind, when you notice that arising, try to remember, only don't know. Don't understand. If we want to practice meditation seriously, which you won't be here long if you don't, if you're not interested in that, we've got to open up our way of being to be inclusive of not understanding and not knowing. Just in general. We can also call this a state of open awareness or non-picking and choosing awareness. Those are good words for it too. But just don't know. This is a different practice from eating caramels. This is a different practice from eating candy or watching YouTube or watching TikTok, which I imagine that many of the people here are familiar with that practice or that exercise, right? You put in some degree of effort or intention, and then you get a taste on your tongue, or you become interested in some video or content. And the moment that it no longer interests you, you put it down and you pick up another piece of content, another thing, another experience to get involved with. The practice of meditation does not involve picking or choosing. We're not selecting something. We're not here to work out a special experience for ourselves. More of an arriving and not striving for anything. And you will get a kick as you practice meditation where you realize that not much of anything in particular is going on, or you're not getting anything. You're not understanding anything. You're not in control of anything. And that's the place where our practice is going to take root. That's the place where our practice can become sustained, right? Where we can really practice this abiding in non-abiding. So just being in, not doing something in particular, not involved with something or someone or some place or some time or some experience or some mental formation, some physical formation, just aware. It is a bit inaccessible because it is so accessible. It's like if we were a fish, we wouldn't think too much of the water. But if we try to go down and be like a fish, we're going to think about the water a lot. It's going to be quite an intense experience. So what is your natural state of mind? Like asking it to a fish, what is your natural environment? Well, it's just normal. It's just ordinary. Meditation is normal and ordinary, but we've got to be willing to abandon, to forgive those mental experiences and physical experiences. So what? You think something, so what? You have a judgment, you have a perception, you have a plan. So what? How is that plan going to go over with the king of death? Or the queen of sickness? Or the non-binary agent of spaciousness? So we learn to become serious about the path, about the ultimate, about the truth, about freedom, about enlightenment. We learn to become serious about these things, in a sense, and we learn to apply loads and loads of levity to those nama and rupa, name and form, mental formations and physical experiences or physical formations. Actually, the difference that we're drawing or creating between mental formations or mental experiences, mental forms, and physical forms is arbitrary. You have a thought, you have a mental sickness, something like that. It's cause and effect came together to where this expression comes about. And solid objects are also like that. You know, this bell here is no more or less solid than anxiety. It's no more or less solid than that. So we can not be so convinced, not be so trapped by the appearance of this bell, and we can also not be so trapped or convinced by the appearance of anxiety or some mental formation or some idea that we get in our head, a cultural idea or maybe a self-defense idea, controlling idea. We learn to see the impermanence of these formations. And I've talked about this before, right? Everybody uses, uses a smartphone, right? So some people don't really care about having a new smartphone or a modern smartphone. They don't have much use for it. But anyone who's using a piece of technology, right? You go to the store, and if they were to tell you, hey, look, I'm going to sell you this phone, but ultimately it's not going to work, it's not reliable, you're not going to buy into that. So when we see the impermanence or the interbeing of mental formations and also physical forms, when we see the impermanence of them, and that this bell is a collection of atoms and protons and neutrons, and it only exists in this form according to certain environmental conditions, such as the degree of gravity here, the atmosphere, the heat in this room. If the heat in this room was different, this bell would just melt. So this bell is a expression not of some solid form or some reality, but this bell is an expression of cause and conditions. So we don't take this bell too seriously, but we know how to use it. We know how to pick it up. We know how to give it a ring. Give it a ring and change the audio settings very quickly so that people can hear it clearly. But we don't become trapped or confused or lost in the bell. There's no need for that because we see through it. Just because we see through it doesn't mean we can't use it. Just because we have an experience when we show up to an event like this, might be the first time we're showing up, or we're still kind of, working it out why we're here and what this path is. That doesn't need to discourage us from practicing, from coming back to our precepts, making mistakes, going through sufferings, having these kind of complicated states of mind doesn't need to restrict us from mindfulness, from doing good deeds, from the truth of no self, the truth of interbeing, okay, the truth of the all of reality right here in this moment. Use your brakes. Stop the car. That is, stop the identification with mental formations, okay, names, kind of the appearances, the idea appearances in reality in our life, and stop the identification with the forms of the physical experiences. The engine of mindfulness is going to go a lot more smoothly if we're able to use our brakes. And here that we can even say that this is a practice of using our brakes. We show up and we stop. And our way of applying that pressure is our mindfulness, our mindful breathing, our deep listening. Our nowhere to go, nothing to do mind. And this supports us not to get into the zone or, try to join a group or something like this. All that's can be good, can be helpful or useful. But we are actually here to face directly reality. This is the good conditions to face reality directly. And this will be the title of our reading today from Zen Master Foyan, Facing It Directly. Does anyone have any questions before we continue? It's a good time to practice generosity. If you do have a question but you're shy, that's very generous to ask it. There will be many storms, many phenomena, many experiences that come about. Don't be tricked. Don't be tricked by your eyes, your ears, your nose, your body, or mind. Everything is an invitation to come back to facing it directly. So, from the book Instant Zen by Master Foyan, this ancient 13th century or so Buddhist monk, Zen master. Facing it directly. If you don't ask, you won't get it. So you won't understand what this is all about, what's going on. If you don't ask, you won't get it. But if you ask, in effect, you have slighted yourself or cheated yourself. If you don't ask, how can you know? But you still have to know how to ask before you can succeed. I have stuck you right on the top of the head for you to discern the feeling, like lifting up the scab on your burn. Spiritually sharp people know immediately. Then for the first time they attain the ability to avoid cheating themselves in any way. So that first statement, bringing up this kind of almost like a trap, mental trap. It brings you right up to the top of your head, to your awareness, to your discernment, to your questioning. What's he talking about, right? And he calls that out. He says, I have stuck you right on the top of the head for you to discern the feeling. Spiritually sharp people know immediately. Then for the first time they attain the ability to avoid cheating themselves in any way. So we are cheating ourselves all the time, right? Simplest way to know that and think about that is we're doing things that cause us suffering and we're not doing things that bring us benefit, right? And not just these kind of like out there ideal ideas for us to practice, but things we know that bring us benefit, that are accessible to us, and we aren't doing them, right? We're not making use of those opportunities. And on the other hand, there are things we do that we know cause us to suffer, give us a stomach ache, give us mental sickness, physical or mental sickness, right? And yet we go and we do those things. So spiritually sharp people know immediately, so you get it right away. You see through the veil, you see through the false notion of someone at some place at some time. Because it can appear that way. We wear our certain clothes, we set up our environment, our surroundings to be very nice. Our identity isn't just here, we put our identity all around us. And then when we sit down and we get settled in, it certainly appears that there's this real true self. Someone at this place, at this time, etc., onward into infinitum, right? Forever, thinking like this, never ending. Spiritually sharp people know immediately, then for the first time, they attain the ability to avoid cheating themselves in any way. I am not fooling you. Remember the story of the ancient worthy, and we've got to remember here, you don't understand. There's a capacity to listen. There's a capacity to develop an understanding. There's going to be more accessible and less accessible teachings in this. We're exploring it together, right? But you don't understand French, German, Chinese, Japanese, Mandarin, etc., etc. You don't understand most things in the world. So in listening to these teachings, we open up that state of wonder and we connect with that reality of not understanding, not knowing. And these aren't, magic spells to kind of give us a trick. This is the broom and the cobwebs, right? We're in our Buddha book club. We're going through the book Zen Battles with Thich Nhat Hanh and his commentary on the teachings of Zen Master Linji, which is similar energy, we can say. And Thich Nhat Hanh said that these Zen teachings are like laxatives to clear you out. You've taken in too much. You've bought into too much. You've tricked yourself, deceived yourself, indulged too much in mental attachments, physical attachments, grasping, craving, desire, fear, isn't it? So this is to clear you out, not to give you more BS to put in there. And BS, of course, is whatever it is. Just let it go. All right, Zen Master Foyan, I'm not fooling you. Remember the story of the ancient worthy who was asked, what was the intention of the Zen founder in coming from India? Amazed, the ancient said, you ask about the intention of another in coming from India. Why not ask about your own intention? This is a common practice in Zen interactions or Zen teachings. What are you talking about? Turn the mind around, right? Other people's intentions, other people's activities, their ideas, their stories, their situations. Stop and turn the mind around. So the ancient worthy, so this ancient master was asked, what was the intention of the Zen founder in coming from India? Why did this great Zen monk come from India to China? And the ancient said, you ask about the intention of another in coming from India. Why not ask about your own intention? Then the questioner asked, what is one's own intention? The ancient replied, observe it in hidden actions. What are your hidden actions? What is your intention? What are you doing? And where and when are we going to do anything outside of this present moment? When does the blade come down and slice through and finish all who stand before it? Right now. That's all we've got. So that's what we're going to have to work with. Developing our relationship with the reality of the present moment and forgiving everything else. finishing everything else, putting it down as much as we can. We have to at least know that that light is there, that truth is there, and our power is there. Nowhere else. Our power is not on 2-day delivery or next day delivery. Okay? Our power is right in this present moment. So the questioner then asked, what is one's own intention? The ancient master replied, observe it in hidden actions. The questioner asked, what are its hidden actions? The ancient opened and closed his eyes to give an indication. We cannot really be sure or take off the veil of our hidden intentions unless we can zoom in to this present moment. Unless we can recognize that the essence of our life is right here in this moment. And we have to concentrate on that rather than these stories and ideas, and we have to allow our spiritual practice to arise from our relationship with that present moment experiencing. We've got to get concentrated about it. Concentrated, maybe not the best word, but connected to it. The more connected we are to the reality of that present, the more workable our spiritual situation will be. And at times, the habit formations of our mind or body or our social environment can be very chaotic. So we'll need that oomph, we'll need that strength to hold the connection firm, right? Or come back when we lose that connection to the present. The ancients often took the trouble to talk quite a bit, but their descendants were not like that. They would shout at people the moment they entered the door, with no further whats or hows or maybes. All right, we're about to get to a very strong point, but all these are points, and they are pointing to that which does not rely on name or form in any capacity. The original truth. So these ancient masters, Foyan says, often took the trouble to talk quite a bit, like the interaction we just went through. But their descendants, such as Zen Master Linji, were not like that. They would shout at people the moment they entered the door, with no further whats or hows or maybes. Now, if you don't understand, there is something that is just so. Why not perceive it? If you don't understand, if you don't know, there is something that is just so. There is something that is in and of itself abundantly clear and present and brightly conveying itself. Why not perceive it? Why not face directly this present moment experiencing and stop relying on all these stories and thoughts and beliefs and complicated ideas? This is the real meditation. In other places, they like to have people look at model case stories. So these kind of Zen interactions from the past. But here we have the model case story of what is presently coming into being. You should look at it. But no one can make you see all the way through such an immense affair. Just this by itself, what do we connect with here? What do we understand about this? If you don't understand, there is something that is, all right, so let's go back even a little bit more. So we've had these Zen Master Foyan giving us this kind of, if you don't ask, you won't get it. But if you ask, then you've cheated yourself. But if you don't ask, how can you know? And, we can say, okay, if you don't ask, you won't understand. If you don't step forward, then you can't get a hold of it, right? It's out of reach. But if you ask, then in effect, you've slighted yourself. You've put your power out there. You've put your truth out there, right? When the real truth is in here. But if you don't ask, how can you know? If you don't question, how can you be sure? But you still have to know how to ask before you can succeed. So it's not just the question, but the quality of questioning, the depth of questioning, the way of approach. And he says, I've stuck you on top of your head like lifting up a scab. Spiritually sharp people know immediately, then for the first time. And what is the first time? This is the first time. Where were you 20 years ago, 30 years ago? You were having your first time. This is the first time as well, etc. Onward into infinitum. This is the first and the last. This is the timeless. Spiritually sharp people know immediately. Then they attain the ability to avoid cheating themselves in any way from that direct knowing, that direct recognition, coming from great questioning. Then Master Foyan says, look, I'm not fooling you. I'm not playing games. This isn't some kind of, intellectual philosophy stuff that we're doing here. But he says, I'm not fooling you. And then goes into this story where the ancient said, observe your own intention in hidden actions. And then the questioner said, what are hidden actions, or what are its hidden actions? And the ancient opened and closed his eyes to give an indication. So the ancient was trying to explain something, but their descendants, so the more recent Zen masters like Master Linji, they would shout at people the moment they enter the door. Imagine, you go to some Zen Buddhist temple, or you come to visit Bhante, something like that, and the moment you open the door, I shout at you, or I throw something at you, right? With no further whats or hows or maybe. So, if you don't understand, why would they do that? What's that about? Zen Master Foyan says, there is something that is just so. Your nature, your essence, your original mind. Why don't you perceive it? Why don't you look at it? Why are you knocking on doors? Why are you trying to become a Buddhist? Why are you chasing down this spirituality? Why not just perceive this? And that's the shouts and the beatings and the work of the Zen masters that can seem kind of abrasive, but it's no more abrasive than the sound of the bell. It's just a different expression with the intention to reach that person. But regardless of if we reach that person or not, regardless if we get it or not, right? If you don't understand, even if you don't understand, there is something that is just so. Doesn't matter if you understand or not. Doesn't matter if you get it or not. And this is kind of like the ultimate compassion or the ultimate wisdom, the ultimate refuge of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Even if you don't understand, even if you don't get it, even if you can't meditate well, even if you've made many mistakes in your life, even if you're depressed, anxious, confused, out of pocket, on the streets, at your end, you've been sick for years and years, mentally or physically, or you've got cancer, or you've got this sickness, whatever, right? Even if you don't understand, there is something that is just so. Why not perceive it? In other places, they like to have people look at model case stories, so these kind of examples of people getting it. But here we have the model case story of what is presently coming into being. You should look at it. This is meditation. This is the best meditation instruction you're ever going to get. Here we have the model case story, or here we have the living reality, the living truth of what is presently coming into being. You should look at it. You should face it. You should breathe it. You should experience it. Look right at it. Especially at those times when we fall into our habit patterns or our difficult mind states or our vices, right? Our coping mechanisms. Don't forget the model case or the ideal puzzle to solve, to understand, which is what is presently coming into being. You should look at it. But no one can make you see all the way through such an immense affair. So this is where that drive or that sincerity, that willingness to look more and more deeply, continuously, into what is presently coming into being, because it is an immense affair, right? Because it appears to be this hunger or this tiredness or this social situation or this anxiety or this present difficulty you're going through, right? But actually, it is everything right there at that moment. You have the capacity to look at it, to look at what is just so. People spend all their time on thoughts that are nothing but idle imagination and materialistic toil, so wisdom cannot emerge. Okay, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. All conventions come from conceptual thought. What use do you want to make of them? So all these kind of conventions and forms and expectations and ways of interacting and these standards of belief that we have culturally or what have you, right? These all come from conceptual thought. What use do you want to make of them? So just use it or put it down, but don't become trapped by this string of conceptual thought or the reality of these conventions, right? These bills you have to pay, your plans for the future, your expectations about a relationship. These are just all things arising out of conceptual thought. What use do you want to make of them? And for most things, we just want to put them down. That's what we need to do so that wisdom can arise rather than our reactivity or our feeble attempts to control. What do you need to control? Wisdom, or we also say insight, wisdom is like the sun rising, whereupon everything is illuminated. This is called the manifestation of non-discriminatory knowledge. You should attain this once, and then from then on there will be something to work with, and we will have something to talk about. If you indulge in idle imagination and toil over objects, then you have nothing for me to work with. So this is a real challenge for each of us as practitioners, right? To put down, to detach from, to stop indulging in idle imagination and toiling over objects. And it's exhausting, right? I find that in my monastic life, because sometimes I need something or feel an urge to order something, to get something. And it's like, oh, should I get this one or that one? Or, is this the right time? Is this what I need? And it's just exhausting. Or even choosing food, although I don't have that so much here, but choosing something to eat, right? It's exhausting. So we waste all of our energy in that, toiling over objects and indulging in our imagination. And I think this can also tie in with like overconsumption of media, movies or TV shows or whatever it might be, because you know that that's fake. You know that that's not real, not authentic, or it's people that are being, authentically inauthentic, whatever you want to call it. But so we have to use our imagination to indulge in that. It's our imagination, our idle imagination, that gives those extra factors, or those kind of fills in the in-between parts with our consent in imaginariness. Waste a lot, we take a lot of energy in that as well, right? So wisdom is like the sun rising, whereupon everything is illuminated. Is there a state you can experience even now where everything is illuminated, everything is bright, everything is clear? This is called the manifestation of non-discriminatory knowledge. And discriminating is like picking and choosing, right? So the manifestation of no more picking and choosing. It's not so far off. But to connect with it, we have to drop our self-fixation. We have to be willing to drop this self-story and this past and future dynamic that we're so hooked into from both sides. Now, if we drop that, we can experience naturally non-discriminatory knowledge, a non-discriminatory presence, a presence that is not fixated or trapped by picking and choosing. Now, if you've attained this once, from then on, there will be something to work with, and we will have something to talk about. We will have a mutual state to connect in, this state of non-discrimination, right? And that might be as a guest or a host. If you just generally access that state in a limited way, right? We may have something to talk about, but you'll usually be the guest. You'll be asking some question that has some merit or some grit to it. Because think about it, right? If we cannot generate the mind state of non-discrimination, then what kind of state are we in? Picking and choosing, picking and choosing, picking and choosing, picking and choosing. We can't talk about anything except picking and choosing. right? And that picking and choosing is just going to be directly rooted to our habit energy, our desires, our fears, our, all these preferences, all this ego. Whereas if you can bring up that knowledge of non-discriminatory awareness, then we're in a kind of a more of a workable situation, right? And don't get it twisted, in these terms of wisdom and the development of insight, it's not in the air. It's just as it's just as clear as a difference in strength, right? Either you really understand it and you have that experience, or you don't. And mainly we have to use our gut to determine that. But within this wisdom, this insight, so there's also that wisdom is that there is no self. There is no you or me. There is no separation between that difference. It's more like that difference is. But we have the intention to use the teacher or use the body and mind that we have to be free, to be peace, to be joy. So we're in a practical situation. And really we learn what our state or what our understanding is by going through trials or tests or having meaningful experiences that kind of put us out of our comfort zone or our privilege zone, right? The usual conditions that we've built for ourselves. And then we say, hey, I can barely, tie my shoes with how unstable or out of control this situation is. And that's when you see the difference between if you can arise that non-discriminatory knowledge or not. Right? It's like we've got a bunch of people talking about how easy sailors have it when they're on the ground. The sailor comes by and they say, how your sea legs doing? Right? It's kind of a joke or making fun. And that sailor says, well, I'm on solid ground, so it's pretty fine. It's only when you get onto that boat that you see what the sailor has accomplished or developed, right? You have that experience. It's only when you get on the court, the basketball court or the sports situation, when you find out your actual capacities, right? And for something like basketball, because it's so common in our culture, we're going to say, oh yeah, I'm not that great at basketball. I don't need to get on the court to know that. But because mental health or spirituality or virtue or non-discriminatory knowledge is not something we tend to know about in our culture or emphasize in our society, we don't really know where we stand. And you won't know so much, and it's often said in these Zen circles, until you meet someone, until you have an experience, until a standard is set. Right? So it's like a high school basketball player who didn't know that the NBA existed. And they were the number one high school basketball player in the world. And then they happened to come across a court with LeBron James. And they say, geez Louise. And that's also, it takes a lot of openness to look at that. But the point here is that there is a solidity and a clarity about this matter or this spiritual path that doesn't necessarily rely on discriminatory knowledge or picking or choosing, But that doesn't mean that it's this ephemeral kind of woo-wah mindset. That's not what it's about. It's hotter than fire. It's colder than ice. Ungraspable, unborn, and indestructible. But if you indulge in idle imagination and toil over objects, then you have nothing for me to work with, and you'll be exhausted, right? The time when you happen to meet the Zen master, you'll just be, you can't. What a laugh. When I talk about the East, you go into the West, and when I talk about the West, you go into the East. I can do nothing for you. If you could turn your heads around, when your insight opened up, you'd be able to say, after all, it turns out that the teacher has told me, and I have told the teacher. And when the head was shaken, the tail would whip around, everything falling into place. You brag about having studied Zen for 5 or 10 years, but when have you ever done this kind of work? You just pursue fast talk. When you have come to me and I see it as soon as you try to focus on anything, that means your inner work has not yet reached the point of flavorlessness. If you stay here 5 or 10 years and manage to perfect your inner work, then you will awaken. Whenever I teach people to do inner work, what I tell them is all in accord with the ancients, not a word off. Understand and you will know of the ancients, but don't say, an ancient spoke thus, and I have understood it thus, for then it becomes incorrect. How about the ancient saying, it is not the wind moving, not the flag moving, but your mind moving? Here are right or wrong. Where are right or wrong in your own situation? It is also said, I am you and you are me. Nothing is beyond this. Now we always have to remember our Zen cheat code when we read these kind of sutras and teachings. And I'm always using, I couldn't be up here if I wasn't using the Zen cheat code. Burn the sutta. Burn these words and phrases. Finish it, end it, close it. How about the ancient saying, it is not the wind moving, not the flag moving, but your mind moving. It is not this understanding or interpretation, and it is not that understanding or interpretation. It is your mind moving. It is grasping. It is ignorance. The true nature is not dependent upon, does not rely on. Reality does not rely on words and phrases. Even the ocean doesn't rely on words and phrases. And Zen masters can swallow up the ocean in one gulp. How many words here are right or wrong in your own situation? It is also said, I am you, you are me. Nothing is beyond this. Let's listen to a sound of the bell. Don't be trapped by anything, especially not Zen. Also, someone asked Yun Men, what is the student's self? Yun Men replied, mountains, rivers, the whole earth. This is quite good. Are these there or not? If the mountains, rivers, and earth are there, how can you see the self? Okay, so if the mountains, rivers, and earth, if all these objects are there, well, how can you see your true nature? You're stuck in objects. You're stuck in grasping. If not, okay, so if the mountains, rivers, and whole earth are not there, how can you say that the presently existing mountains, rivers, and earth are not there? The ancients have explained for you, but you do not understand and do not know. I always tell you that what is inherent in you is presently active and presently functioning, and need not be sought after, need not be put in order, need not be practiced or proven. So there seems to be a contradiction here, right? Because Zen Master Foyan was saying, that if you stay here 5 or 10 years and manage to perfect your inner work, then you will awaken. But here he says, I always tell you that what is inherent in you is presently active and presently functioning, and need not be sought after, need not be put in order, need not be practiced or proven. This is salvation. This is freedom. This is forgiveness. Okay? But like Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh was saying in our Buddha Book Club, Part 2 or 1, that it's right here. It is not just inherent in you, but that it is functioning presently in you. This true nature, this liberation nature, this wisdom sun, this non-discriminatory knowledge. Okay? But it takes a lot of joyful practice to realize this, to recognize this, to see it. So if Zen Master Foyan is saying, when you have come to me as a student, or you want to develop on this path, when you have come to me and I see it, as soon as you try to focus on anything, that means your inner work has not yet reached the point of flavorlessness. So Zen Master Foyan catches your true nature right when you try to focus on anything. That means that your inner work has not yet reached flavorlessness. That means you're still trying to focus on what is already inherent in you. Okay? Now, if you stay here 5 or 10 years and manage to perfect your inner work, then you will awaken. So what is that inner work? I always tell you that what is inherent in you is presently active and presently functioning, and need not be sought after, need not be put in order, need not be practiced or proven. All that is required is to trust it once and for all. This saves a lot of energy. It is hard to find people like this. When my teacher was with his teacher used to say, this path is a natural subtlety attained by oneself. Generally focusing on the existence of innate knowledge. When I saw my teacher, I was unable to express this for 10 years, just because I wondered deeply. I later attained penetrating understanding, and now Do not waste any energy at all. It is not that it is there when you think of it, but not so when you don't. Buddhism is not like this. Don't let the matter under the vestment bury me away. If you do not reflect and examine, your whole life will be buried away. Is there in fact anything going on here? Nowadays, there are many public teachers whose guiding eye is not clear. Maybe Zen Master Foyan's talking about me here, I don't know. This is very wrong. How dare they mount a pulpit to try to help others? Showing a symbol of authority, they rant and rave at people without any qualms, simply pursuing the immediate and not worrying about the future. How miserable! If you have connections, you should not let yourself be set up as a teacher as long as you are not enlightened, because that is a disaster. If there is something real in you, musk is naturally fragrant. See how many phony Zen masters there are, degenerating daily over a long, long time. They are like human dung carved into sandalwood icons. Ultimately, there is just the smell of crap. Wishing to get out of birth and death, wishing to attain release, you try to become unified. But one does not attain unification after becoming homogenized. If you try to make yourself unified, you will certainly not attain unification. Once a seeker called on a wayfarer and asked, as they roamed the mountains, an ancient teacher said he sought unification for 30 years without being able to attain it. What does this mean? The wayfarer replied, I too am thus. Then he asked the seeker, understand? He also gave the seeker a poem. The ancient teacher attains unification, and I too am thus. Before the end of this month, I will settle it for you again. At the end of the month, the wayfarer passed away. Tell me about unification. Is it good or bad? The ancient teacher attained unification, and I too am thus. I announce to Zen seekers, facing it directly, don't stumble past. Each of you go on your way. If there is something real in you, musk is naturally fragrant. We all have something real in us, and that is our true nature. That is not someone in particular, not at some place in particular, not in some situation in particular. And this musk, this stench of our true nature, not difficult to notice. But we've got to turn the mind not getting caught up in our imagination, not getting caught up in toiling over or exhausting ourselves in objects. Not to be confused about the path as being out there, as our success on the path being some kind of state of meditation or unification, but that it's right here. We just need to be willing to forgive ourselves enough to recognize our true self in each and every moment. Okay? So that's our reading today from Instant Zen, Waking Up in the Present, Zen Master Foyan. Let's listen to a sound of the bell, and we'll sit together for a few minutes. Then there'll be another sound of the bell to end our sitting, and then we'll open it up for question and answer. Okay? So please find your comfortable and stable meditation position. Breathing deep, just aware, aware, aware. Mental formations, physical experiences come up. Don't be tricked, don't be confused, don't be led along. Come back to the heart beating, the breath breathing, just aware, aware, aware. Don't allow any mental formations or physical experiences to entice you or confuse you. Not to reject them or control them, but to face the mind. Face what is just so. Not about body or mind. Not about names or stories. Just facing the mind itself. Allow the light of wisdom to shine. Non-discrimination, just aware. The breathing can help you to maintain awareness itself rather than sinking into any feeling. Just breathing, just aware. Widen out the mind, the heart, the body. And whatever it is that you are aware of, not just mindfulness, not just present moment awareness, but a kind of wise, kind awareness offered to whatever is arising at this moment, whatever is just so. Okay, any questions or sharing experience today?
So my experience was going back and forth between a dream state and awareness of the breath.
Chris, you can mute your mic. A little bit of noise coming out of there. Okay, it's good. So we feel a sleepiness or we feel uncomfortableness in our body. That's a normal. And how do we deal with that, or how do we relate with that? We relate with that with the practice, with mindfulness and also insight or wisdom. So when we have a sleepiness, that's our good practice point. You know, these difficulties and confusions are going to keep coming up. The question is, how do we deal with them? And how do we allow those to direct us? Is it towards complicated thinking? Or is it towards freedom? So glad you're here to practice today. Sleepiness is also a good opportunity because there is some natural sense of relaxation that goes along with sleepiness. So we can use that, and it can support us in our mindfulness and detachment. Right? So maybe some of us have more issues going to sleep, but if you have issues with too much sleep, then you practice to experience that sleepiness, but to be mindful and to detach and not let it just pull you into, being asleep. And that's really good. That's really helpful. We here at the monastery, we were reading a sutra as a part of our evening meditation together, and it was an early Buddhist teaching from the Buddha giving a talk about how we should eat food. And he gave this story of a mother and father, or husband and wife, and their child crossing the desert. And it got to such a point where if the mother and father were to eat the child, they would survive and they would make it across the desert. And if they didn't, they would all die. Okay? And so they ate the child and they made it across the desert. These kinds of situations are real. So the Buddha's instruction was to eat food as if it were, as if it is that your child. Do you think the mother and father are indulging in enjoyment of that food? How nice it tastes, how delicious it is, how well prepared it is? No. And so the point here is that we eat to for nourishment, to heal this body, to continue on this journey, to get to the other side, to get to liberation, to get to freedom, not to enter into this like kind of dream animal state. Yeah, food tastes good. There's enjoyment in eating, but that's something we have to practice with rather than indulge in. Otherwise, there's all kinds of issues that are going to come up with that. Okay? And as we do practice with the extreme of it, then we can be more skillful to be mindful with pleasure and to use it, right? Because we are going to have enjoyment, but we need to know how to use it without attachment. Because that enjoyment is temporary, and if you attach to it or indulge in it, you will generate suffering for yourself. Disentangle. Detach. Free as a bird. Okay, anyone else have a question today? All right. So let's finish with sharing the merits. And I had a special request from another monk, actually one of my mentors, who's a bhikshuni from Taiwan in the Zen tradition, and ask us to share those merits from our practice with those in Israel, Palestine in particular. Okay, and for anyone who doesn't know, when we do good deeds, when we listen to the Dhamma, Instant Zen, when we practice together mindfulness and generosity to be here together and to give our presence, and when we practice detachment, to be willing to stop our mental and physical and verbal activities and just be, there's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of good seeds that we planted, basically, and those good seeds have innate in them the fruits of well-being, peace, freedom, joy, and that's what we call merits. So good deeds, good effects, and we'll finish with a dedication of the merits together. Okay? So everyone, please unmute your microphone if you can, and we'll chant. We'll do this together. Just repeat after me. Okay? And you can bring your hands together like this as well if you're comfortable, which is just our sincerity, our wholehearted presence. Okay. May all the merits we have done till now
May all the merits we have done till now
be dedicated and shared out towards all beings.
be dedicated and shared out to all beings.
May all beings rejoice and share in our merits.
May all beings rejoice and share in our merits.
May those in the area known as Israel Palestine receive our merits wholeheartedly.
May all those in the area of Israel receive our merits wholeheartedly.
May the peace in our community be offered out and shared out to those in Israel Palestine.
May the peace in our community be offered out and shared out to those in Israel and Palestine.
May it be,
May it
may
be,
it be,
may it be,
may it truly be.
may it truly be.
Okay, we'll finish with 3 bows. With each bell, you can take a bow. Okay, thank you, dear community, for being here, and I wish you all well, and let's practice together again. Okay? Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, monk.
Thank you, Bhante.
Take care, Bhante.